What's up, guys? Justin Morgan here, and this is the start of the Juggernaut method. I had mentioned in the last video that I had made that I was planning to start cutting some weight, so I wanted to do something that was kind of higher in volume, and this is just a program I've done in the past. The weekly template is pretty much the same as what I've been following for a long time, but this just allowed me to. I'm only squatting 2 days per week, so I guess that's a change from the weekly template. And speaking of my squat, my squat's currently set at 495 pounds. So you can see along the top there where I'm showing my maxes, that's in pounds, and then snatch, clean, and jerk are in kilos, and then dips, that's like my volume max. So I haven't actually done 420 pounds on dips, but my equivalent volume for reps is about there. So this is different. I haven't done anything above like 5 or 6 reps in a long time. So, and even then, it's not been for a lot of volume. So doing something where I'm doing sets of 8 is kind of different. I kind of liked it, actually. I like it because I like just the stimulus for muscle growth. I know that as I get down a little bit, or as the reps come down, so the next phase will be 5s, and that will lead me into the Ohio State weightlifting meet that I plan to compete in, and that will basically be once I do that, I'll kind of go back and probably restart the Juggernaut method at the beginning of the program. So this one I'm actually starting in the 8's phase because I want to be down into a lower rep range by the time the meet comes around. So that's kind of why I'm starting in, I guess, week 5. But one things that I like about the program is that there are scheduled and planned deloads. That's not something I've always been very good at adhering to, and it's one reason that I've allowed fatigue to accumulate too high during portions of my training. And then once that happens, once you kind of exceed a certain level of fatigue, you actually lose strength, and at some point in your training cycle, there's going to be a point where your strength's down a little bit, but if you really start to drop in your strength levels by a significant margin, then usually there's a period of months that it takes to kind of gain that back, even after deloading and resuming normal training. So it's really not a good idea to allow that to happen after a certain point. I remember when I was more of a beginner lifter that it really didn't matter. Like, I could, not pay attention to a lot of these training principles, and I could get away with anything. But, at some point, as the weights get to a certain, amount of, wow, this is heavy, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to plan that out. So it's probably good that I follow a strategic plan. If you noticed in the title, I said the Cowboy method. This is actually something that Chad Wesley Smith was the author of the Juggernaut method, which I said I had followed in the past. One thing that's nice about it is that in this case, like, I am training for weightlifting, so the program is adaptable. It's meant to be used for athletes, for throwers, for field athletes, for things like that, to where you can plan the training cycle around your training. So my competition lifts are the snatch and the clean and jerk. They're not the squat, the bench press, which I'm not actually bench pressing, but actually, come to think of it, I did actually intend to resume bench pressing during this cycle. It's been probably almost a year since I really bench pressed, and I tried to set my rack, which you're seeing this rack, at its lowest position and put the bench down, and it was still too high for me to reach. So apparently I can't bench. I could put down like my blocks and put the bench on top of that, and it would be fine, but that would be a lot of effort for something that I'm just kind of not that into. So I do dips now for a lot of my like chest, triceps, and shoulders hypertrophy. Of course, I'm doing pressing too, overhead pressing and push presses, but the dips probably work, a lot more of your upper body musculature to a greater degree in like the chest probably than the strict press does. So that's something different that I'm kind of doing, and I'm actually using the 10s in the 8's phase of the Juggernaut method for that. I'm not going down any lower than that. There's a couple lifts that are like that, where I'm only using certain phases of it. But for like squats and press, I'm doing the 10s, 8s, 5s, 3s exactly as it's laid out. And then the way that Chad Wesley Smith wrote the Cowboy method was that front squats kind of go up to a higher intensity. So there's not like straight volume across the sets like you see in the Juggernaut method, where it's like you're going to do 5 sets of 8 in the first week of the 8's phase for 65% or something like that. So that's kind of different, but you work up to a given percentage at a certain amount of reps, and there's only one top set that you do. So I think he's drawing that more from the Texas method, which is probably why he called it the Cowboy method. But so it's kind of interesting as I'm going through this, just kind of manipulating things. I took the same structure that he used for the front squat and I applied it to push press, and then I changed the percentages on it and applied it to the Romanian deadlift. You can see me at the end there doing some deadlifts. I haven't done a lot of posterior work of any kind as far as hypertrophy goes, so I wanted to add that back in and do something to where I was getting a little bit more work in that way, and that seems to be going well initially. I'm pretty sore today. I just did it yesterday, so it was the first time, but hopefully over the course of this training cycle I'll see that some of the things that I have in the snatch and the clean and jerk, like falling forward in the bottom or catching snatches and letting it go out in front, I want to make sure that I'm stabilizing my torso a little better, and I don't think it's a strength issue, because when I consciously think about it, I can fix that. But I want my body to be neurologically adapted to making that movement and just naturally hitting that position. And I think neglecting lower back, upper back, well, I don't really neglect upper back, but the stabilizing of like that middle part of your torso, and all of those things is work that I haven't typically done a lot of. So I'm sure that it affects me in some way, and hopefully by adding more assistance movements to that, it'll help me to naturally stabilize a little better in that position, especially in the bottom of the snatch and the clean and jerk. So that's it. I hope you guys are doing well. If you have any video ideas you'd like to hear, please post them in the comment section below. Remember to like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next time.